We know federal agents had been watching Rahim for months and had him under 24-hour surveillance for the past few weeks.
So how does a suspect wind up on the FBI's radar, and what does he have to do to warrant round-the-clock surveillance? Ken MacLeod tonight takes a closer look.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about beheading police on social media, that's a good way to get on the list.
Former federal prosecutor Brian Kelly is talking about the terror watch list, on which suspect Osama Rahim had worked his way up to rare 24/7 surveillance in recent weeks before he was shot dead by the officers he tried to stab in Roslindale yesterday.
If someone is put on a 24/7 watch, that someone is in their view, extremely dangerous.
Indeed, the Joint Terrorism Task Force has limited resources, and a 24/7 watch means they felt pretty sure a violent strike from Rahim was imminent.
It's judgment that law enforcement has to exercise, hopefully appropriately, and use that information to protect the rest of us.
The watch list has its roots in 9/11, but has grown dramatically in recent years as investigators scour social media, snatch names off wiretaps, and work sources worldwide.
And they have a lot of different sources. We're telling them different things, and they have to vet that to see what's credible, what isn't.
But most names on the list get only cursory attention as investigators sift and funnel the incoming info to target the biggest emerging threats.
The scrutiny gets higher and higher, and the person presumably is unaware of it.
Which is why the list is shrouded in secrecy, so targets don't change course, cover tracks, or accelerate their evil plots.
The more information they gather about particular people on the list, they can now focus on people who actually might pose a danger.
And that's clearly what police thought about Osama Rahim when they closed in yesterday, even as authorities puzzled over why he'd tip his hand on social media.
A lot of people let their guard down and think no one's watching, but occasionally law enforcement is.
Now, once a name begins to percolate on the watch list, you can bet on the feds vetting family and friends, especially if there's a connection to some troubled part of the world. But the homegrown lone wolf terror threat is growing as ISIS gets ever stronger in radicalizing disciples through cyberspace. Lisa.
Yeah, well, Ken, and it's hard to imagine how many of those lone wolves they may be watching. Do we have any idea how many names are on this watch list?
Just one of the odd things is we really don't, and we only seem to hear about it when some big terrorist gets caught or some poor average Joe is mistakenly detained at the airport. But in a civil lawsuit filed last summer, the government estimated that more than 1.5 million names had been added to the list, 1.5 million in the last 5 years. That's a lot of folks to keep tabs on. Used to be that less than 5% were American citizens, but Lisa, that number we are told is also growing.
So reassuring and disconcerting at the same
time. Right.
Thank you, Ken.